When you are in a state of unhappiness, doesn't matter how pure the water you drink is, you don't receive full benefit from it. So we would rather that you are joyfully connected, which means you are able to overlook the impurities in the water and still remain connected to source and drink impure water, than that you have the purest water that you can fashion in your worry and pushing against impurities. So the more important question is, how do you like the water you drink? You see, the thing that we want so much for you to hear is, because you're bordering on what we were playing with earlier. You're not bordering on it, you're jumping in it with both feet. What we were playing with earlier, that most people say, pure water makes me feel good, impure water makes me feel bad, therefore I must purify the water in order to feel good. And we say, if you can find a way of tuning yourself into source energy regardless of the water you're drinking. So let's play this out. So let's say you're drinking impure water and you believe it's giving you detrimental effects. And out of that, you launch rockets of desire for purer water, for better resources, for taking better care of your planet, for less pollution. So you're launching all of these rockets of desires, and Source is hearing them and providing all of that for you. But as you beat the drum of the impurity in the water, you don't have vibrational access to what you've been asking for. So then people will say, and it's very prevalent in a world of wanting to sell people things, most people want to point out what's wrong with things in order to get you to, in other words, if I can convince you that there's something really wrong with this, then maybe you'll want that. In other words, all of this information about global warming, and everyone is feeling impacted by it, and everyone is wanting to move into some sort of action about it. And we want to say to you, you do not need to dig the hole for yourself by beating yourself over the head with what's wrong in order to give birth to what's right. In other words, you don't have to have a nervous breakdown before you come out into the light. You can explore the contrast, give birth to what you want, and turn your undivided attention toward what you want and receive it. So you will never find us to be proponents about what's wrong with your planet. We will always be encouraging you to look wherever you're looking for the positive aspects. And when you find them in your alignment, as best as you can do from where you are, you will be guided to the resources that will fully answer every question, provide solutions to every problem, give clarity to every place that has been confused. No exception.
If we were standing in your physical shoes and we were wanting to guide ourselves to be most in harmony in terms of action with our non-physical knowing and intent, there are three things that we would do that most of you don't do. We would drink enormous quantities of water. So much water that in the beginning we would find ourselves uncomfortable because the elimination process would be a bit hindering. But we really would. We would drink lots and lots and lots of water. Your capacity to hold more water will grow as you consume more water. And so the elimination process would not be so uncomfortable. And every cell of your body, which is mostly water, would benefit because the energy transmission of your body is affected. The more water you drink, the more easily the energy flows. And so there are lots of things that you could eat, but the one thing that we really encourage is more water. And we mean water minus preservatives, water minus caffeine, water without sugars. We mean water. We really do. We mean water. Water with minerals, water with all of the natural stuff that is in water. We would drink water. And we would find a source of it that is pure without too much dealing with. In other words, if you can find water that is water, that's what we would drink, water. The other thing that we would do is that we would move our bodies intentionally. In other words, we would find reasons to move. And by moving, we don't mean dramatic exercise. We mean moving. We mean motion. We mean walking, mostly. Moving the body, moving the arms, flexing the muscles, stretching the muscles, movement. And the third thing that we would do is that we would rest when we are tired and we would awaken when we are refreshed. In other words, we would try to follow a more natural rhythm. Now that's hard to do under the work environment that many of you live, but we would sleep shorter snatches more frequently. In other words, we'd take a little nap on the lunch hour if we could, and we'd snatch a little nap after work if we could, and we'd sleep a shorter expanse in the middle of the night. In other words, we would not sleep longer than 4 hours at any stretch, only because the body benefits so much by motion.
There are a lot of things that we could tell you about water that would be perfectly obvious, such as it's necessary for the sustaining of your planet, and without it there is no furthering of life. Everyone's sort of in agreement about that. And your own physical body is primarily that. So it is the supporting basis component through which all of the other energy flows. And even as you are breathing air and flowing blood, the water of your system is the nucleus isn't exactly the right word, through which all of it flows. But you're really going to like this. So you know how we're talking to you here today as this leading edge creator out here on this leading edge thought. There was a time when the leading edge creator on this planet was a drop of water.
Really? That's really neat.
That's why you like your history. In other words, it's the basis of that which you are. It was the beginning of consciousness, literally. Now, you can go beyond water. You can go to energy and thought. But water, when water, people they want to take their spacecrafts and they want to go to those planets to see if there was water. And the most funny thing that they say is, was there water that is now gone? And we want to say, is water in the process of becoming?
We do have influence then
Over
water.
everything.
Yeah. So
Over everything.
Everything.
Every particle of the universe is vibrating. And when you are under the influence, everything that you focus upon receives the benefit of that influence. When you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you have influence over everything, over dirt. We don't want you to talk about the magic water. The water isn't magic. You're the magic. The water is responding to you.
Okay. So then all the little like devices and little things and all that kind of stuff, we don't even need that then to change. What I want to talk about is like structuring water. What is structured water? What does structuring water do? Does it have a benefit?
We want to step back from the structured water for a moment. We'll talk about it. Does it follow what you know about that? Does it follow that what we're really talking about is getting into alignment? So you are joining collaborative forces with infinite intelligence, with source energy. And then when you focus, you're structuring everything. Your alignment is the structurer. There are so many contraptions and gizmos that people offer through time that can get people to focus in a new way. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. But it is the alignment that causes, and so it's not just the structured water. Esther has one of those little devices that you're talking about, and she uses it and enjoys it. As she uses it, what her focus is I so love this life-giving water. And anything that can enhance anything is a good idea. Yesterday, for the first time in her life, she picked up a salt crystal and held it in her hand while she meditated. And she liked it. Does she need the salt crystal? No. If she does, then nothing that we've ever taught her is right.
So even with the structuring devices, you don't need that either. It's just alignment, looking at the water or focusing on that and then drinking it. Has the same.
This is the benefit of that. You know what she's talking about? It's a device. There are a variety of them, but the one Esther has, it's about the size of a 12-ounce glass of water, very narrow. And when she pours the water in, it pours right through it. It's not filtering it. There's no filter in it. It's just pouring it right through it, but it's causing a couple of vortexes. It would be more like aerating it if you were looking at it in terms of physics terms.
So it sort of mimics the water going over the rocks in the streams, or even the water coming through the atmosphere. So much of your water is stagnant because it's stored in aquifers in the ground, or in bottles on shelves for a longer time than is valuable to you, or even in your tanks or whatever. And so when something becomes still, it is, could even call it dormant. It's less active and therefore less beneficial. Now you could say that when it moves through your own physical body, it's becoming structured. In other words, as it's moving through your cells, that's not so different than it tumbling over the rocks either. But that's the idea of it. It just becomes less structured. But even more important, when you do something with some deliberate intention, you are adding the largest component to it. It's your intentionality to anything that adds the largest component to it. We want to add to this because Esther's friend was talking to her about this structured water, and Esther was feeling resistance about it just because she doesn't want another contraption that is necessary to her well-being. We've been teaching her other than that for as long as she's been listening to us. And it makes it sound like you have to drag something around and that your intentionality is not as powerful as it is. It sort of put everything that she understands to be sort of in a funnier place. And so then they went to lunch, and her friend had some structured water. And the restaurant brought some water, and Esther usually buys bottled water. But she didn't in this morning. She was going to get something else to drink. So they put the water on the table that came from wherever they get it. So our friend said, taste that, and Esther did. Tastes like water. And water doesn't all taste the same. So tasted like one of the many varieties of waters that I've tasted. She couldn't taste chlorine in it. It didn't taste bad. It didn't really taste like anything. Then our friend introduced a little of her structured water that she had in a bottle in her purse into Esther's water, just a little bit into that water. And she said, now taste it. And Esther couldn't discern a different taste, but the water felt different in her mouth.
So what was that?
It felt different in her mouth. And then Esther felt an appreciation of the water. Well, what she was feeling was an appreciation of the intentionality, an acknowledgement of wanting well-being from the life-giving water. In other words, there are a lot of reasons for that. And so then we had a discussion about it. And when the question, how could that little bit of water that was being added to a lot more water make a difference in the water? We said, and this is what you're getting at, because the water that had been structured influenced the other water. Anything that is intentional affects anything that isn't. That was the reason that all of Esther's bells were ringing. It was not so much from the water contraption as it was the concept that it was introducing into the conversation. That when you're in alignment, anytime you are in alignment, anything that you give your attention to. In other words, Esther had not appreciated water in a long time. Most don't. You drink it because you're thirsty, or you drink it because somebody says you should. But Esther had not focused upon the life-giving benefits of water.
Feels different. There's something about that. So is that just in my head because it feels different to shower in it, to drink it?
Anything that is intentional feels different. Nothing that you're saying is wrong. The water is being affected by the intentionality, and the contraption is enhancing the intentionality. We would really, really like it if everyone would give this much attention to every single aspect of your life experience. Let's say you've got a little bottle of that water and it's spraying, and you just decide that you're going to improve the whole world, so you just spray it on everything. Well, don't spray it on electric things.
Yeah.
Do you really need to spray something, or can you focus your energy toward it? It's your intentionality. And so often action does enhance your intentionality, but you also run the risk of giving the power to the contraption. Yeah. Nothing has the power except you, and you're either utilizing it or you're not. And really, whatever it takes to cause you to feel more intentional and more deliberate is a really, really, really good thing. There are so many things of physical nature that are beneficial, and those that come from the inspiration from broader non-physical are those that last. Everything that is manifested around you, we said this yesterday, is spiritually based. People are often wondering about the difference between materialism and spiritualism, and we say it's all spiritual. Everything that you see is an extension of non-physical energy. We're just always talking these days to you from the beginning and now about your work is to mind the gap between your beliefs and your desires. And the fact is, life is going to continue to produce new desires for you that you're not quite up to speed with. And anything that you can use to help bridge that gap is a good thing. Here's the question that we want to put to you. We know that you've been listening to us, and we know that your broader life experience has brought you to a lot of knowing also. Do you acknowledge that being in alignment does produce a powerful leverage that can produce faster results?
Yes.
And do you agree that beliefs that are contrary to desire are hindering to that alignment and therefore to the speed of the manifestation?
Yes.
And do you believe that what happens with any individual is only about that relationship, and that other things like what you're talking about can maybe affect someone's belief or enhance one's belief, but ultimately it is the belief that is making the difference?
Oh, okay.
It's the alignment that makes the difference. So that means that absent someone's focus, there is no contraption that would produce absolute results every single time. We just want to step back a little bit further from that and help them believe in themselves more than the contraption.
Yeah.